Photographer Bas Losekoot has spent the last 7 years working on an epic photographic project called the Urban Millennium Project. He's fascinated by the impact of density on the way people interact with each other in public space. Or perhaps prefer not to interact with each other as we all put on our masks of neutrality and try not to bump into each other, look at our phones, put in our earplugs. He visited 9 cities all over the world, including London, Seoul, Mumbai, and photographed people in the process of interacting, or perhaps better said, not interacting with other people.
This picture is very important to me because it was one of the first close-up images that I did for this project. It was very early in the morning rush in Wall Street. It was the first time I did an extremely close-up, and I didn't know what to expect or how people were going to respond to me. But I believe in this image because it's a brief moment that we would normally never notice, but because of the light, it becomes a heightened drama. It becomes something special to me.
This is probably the funniest and strangest image that I will ever take for my video blog. This is me hanging on this huge backlit poster at Amsterdam Airport, at Schiphol. It's a campaign for Amsterdam in Business, the Amsterdam Marketing Bureau, with the logo Open Mind, Sharp Business. And apparently they thought that my face was a good representation of Open Mind, Sharp Business. Thank you very much, I Amsterdam. Of course, it's also wonderful publicity for the John Adams Institute. I'd heard from 1 million people that they'd seen me hanging here, but I'd never actually seen it myself. So now I'm on my way to London, and I thought I'm going to go by Pier D8 and finally see myself hanging. So here you have me both in the flesh and with my own image on this enormous screen. Hello, David Madden.
Hi.
Good to see you again, now in London.
Great to see you here.
Yeah. You were in my talk show, Hey You Urbans, at the beginning of last year when the Netherlands were the chair of the EU. And we talked in that talk show on that evening about the London housing market and how London has been completely run over by its own success. Housing is just a matter of investment and no longer of a home. Has anything changed since we last spoke a year and a half ago?
I think if anything, financialization of housing and housing inequality has just continued to get worse and worse.
Isn't Brexit going to change that?
It could. No one's quite sure what Brexit is really going to look like. You may have heard, and so there's a bit of question on that score. But I think a lot of people have this idea that Brexit might be the sort of shock that would somehow shake up the system and make it more affordable. And I mean, my response to that is that housing needs to be democratized and definancialized, and Brexit's not going to do that.
Is there any incentive to do that with such demand on the housing market?
Well, there's no financial incentive, but I mean
a moral incentive.
Yeah, well, and I mean the city can't just be extremely rich people and empty apartments owned by other extremely rich people.
London, where it is actually extremely hot. On our wedding day, it poured with rain. But one of the things we're doing here in London to celebrate is visiting the big David Hockney exhibition at the Tate Britian. Such a versatile artist who lived in California for many, many years and made some beautiful pictures that I immediately recognized in an intuitive fashion. And some of his favorite images, of course, I think for everybody are not only his iPad flowers, which they also have here, but also his swimming pools, that ultimate California symbol, the swimming pool. The Design Museum in London has an exhibition now called California, Designing Freedom. And of course, being from California, this was the first thing I had to see in London this weekend. It's a great exhibition, not chronological, but by theme. And one of the themes, of course, is freedom. And I think these two objects behind me show in a really good way the way our whole concept of freedom has changed. Behind me you see a replica of the motorcycle made for the Easy Rider in 1916. That was individualism, mobility, that was the climax of freedom. And now we see behind me the Waymo, which of course is a self-driving car. And that means, I think, that we now have a whole different concept of freedom rather than getting out there on the road ourselves in all that traffic, that we would rather be a passenger in a car driven by artificial intelligence.